Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics at length, often tired and heavily caffeinated. Welcome to being over 30. There is a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I do talk about random shit and I swear, shit, fuck it. I am so fucking tired right now, so you're just gonna have to sit with that, I'm afraid. It's Friday and I am just ready to fucking go. I'm walking into a classroom for science with a bunch of shithead kids. So, as a person who opted out of it, involuntary and voluntary, I'm fucking tired, dude. I'm sorry if I'm sealing down already, but here we go. Anyway, so the topic for today is loss, dealing with loss. It is a bit of a morbid topic for some. Not always a bad thing. Some loss is needed. Some loss is needed because you need to grow up to the next phase or grow on to the next phase. There is generally a feeling that loss is a bad thing. Although, if you have a poverty mindset, it's generally because you're afraid that you won't get it again. Which is doable, yeah, you can see that way. I can see that way. Growing up in poverty, we lost a lot of shit. We just got used to losing shit, or not having shit. So, when we didn't get shit, it was like, oh, okay, this is what happens. Once you get out of that mindset that, there's always more coming as long as you put the work in, obviously. It's a better way to live, I think, because you're not dealing with the depressive state of, fuck, I haven't got this, or I can't do this, or I haven't got access to this. It's always good to actually put the work in. My ex-boyfriend is pointless when it comes to doing the work. He didn't want to. He wanted to live off something I was doing, so, yet another parasitic arsehole. I don't think highly of him, I'm afraid. I don't think much of him. I don't think much of my ex-husband either, so you'll probably hear me bitching about them for a while. Right. What can we do about loss? What is loss, basically, first? Because you've got to understand the context in which you find yourself to understand the definition of it, if that makes sense. I'm just referring back to the structures we used to have to use for writing essays in uni. We need context, right? Loss is when something is removed from your life. It can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing. Mostly for me, it's a good thing, because it means that I can restructure, regroup, and actually form a new way of doing things. I've had a lot of loss, so I'm not coming from alien perspective. I'm very familiar with loss. I think most people are at this point, because if you've ever had anything or hope to keep anything, you're going to lose it inevitably. Everything's impermanence. It might transmute or transform into something else, take a different form. I mean, love is never lost, for example. It just gets transformed into another thing, or Anyway, that's a whole different podcast. That's something I'd rather go in deep discussion to in a different way. Right now we're dealing with loss. The Queen once said, grief is the price we pay for love. That's dealing with loss. You can stick your arm out, mate. I'm still going to hit you if you ride at me, jackass. Sorry. Bike cyclists, I hate them. Not motorbikes, bike cyclists. They're little arrogant shits in spandex. So, you don't have right of way. It's still a fucking road, dude. So, I'm just gonna go. Dealing with loss. Where do we start? Okay, so going from the ground roots up. Right, here we go. As opposed to the air roots. Childhood. What kinds of things have we gone through in childhood? First of all, you lose all your baby teeth and stuff like that. But let's talk about biological loss. What are you losing? You might lose your status as a child. You might lose, on a very, very basic level. You're first dealing with loss when you lose your teeth, for example, because you're freaking out because are they going to grow back? And then you get a second set, so it's like, yay. Turns out I won't have no teeth. That's a double negative, sorry. When I was growing up, we dealt with a lot of loss, mainly because of my parents' responsible side, or lack thereof. They didn't do the right thing, essentially. They didn't build the right foundation for having a family. The idea was my dad goes to work, my mom stays at home, looks after the kids. I think that was the general consensus. The fact is that my dad's got Peter Pan syndrome. It's an unreliable piece of shit. So he was in and out of work. We lost a lot of money. We went into debt because of stupid ideas he picked up from his mates, as well as control issues from my granddad, Bob. And there was constant power struggle in the family dynamics that way, because Bob was an asshole and a manipulator, control freak. So my mum took on, besides sitting on the welfare line for years, because since I was about 8 till about at least 15, and then, you know, dealing with the trauma of that shit because you never got what you need, and you know, your parents are freaking out because they don't think they're doing their job, which was the reality of the situation. They weren't doing their job. My dad has mental issues, we know that. My mum has mental issues, but you don't take it out on the kids, right? That is the theory. So growing up as a kid, we didn't have a lot of stuff. So when we got something and it broke, that was it, you lost it. So you don't tend to get attached to things. I had dogs. I had 2 dogs, actually, both of which got put down. Because firstly, the first one got a bit too aggressive with the other dog. That was my dog called Solar, and she got put down. My parents do that. My mum did that. She has no problem with killing my animals. It's very interesting. My second dog wouldn't stop weeing, so they put that one down as well, strangely enough. Another reason. I didn't think it was justified, but they got fed up with it and killed it. We had other family dogs. My parents just tend to get fed up with stuff and kill it. I don't know how I didn't turn out to be a psychopath. But the fact that you can't get attached to these things, and these are meant to be formative things, you know, you're supposed to have your first puppy and it's meant to be this learning experience where you learn to relate to things and care for things and take, you know, take adult roles or semi-adult roles in the care and maintenance of an animal or a creature, which then leads on to things like raising children. That's the whole point of getting a pet, to make sure you learn those skills. Because, you know, if you do it to a human, you tend to, if you don't succeed at doing it to a human, you tend to go to prison. So you want to learn on an animal, right? Because apparently they're worthless. I don't see how, but okay. So every time I got attached to like an animal or something like that, or a toy, or something that was primarily mine, it was either given away or killed or just removed, or it broke, or we lost it. I think at one point, for example, we were given pocket money for doing jobs, and we did proper jobs. We didn't just do, oh, you made your bed, here's $5. We did, you know, digging up slate floors and landscaping and shit at like 8. My parents were very serious about treating us as adults, even in terms of like servitude and stuff like that. So I think for a very short time period we got change, essentially coins, whatever shrapnel they had, as payment for doing these jobs. But then again, that shit got raided because we didn't get to keep the money, because the money then got turned into, you know, paying bills and shit like that, because my parents were fucking useless. It's like, they were not providers. I don't know if they tried. I suppose they would have had to try, but you know, just not very big thinkers about how they're going to make shit work. I don't think. I was not impressed. I feel like I sound ungrateful. I probably am sounding ungrateful. Because all of us have got that in the back of the head. They were doing what they could with what they had. It's like, well, no, because you don't keep repeatedly quitting your job because you're not getting your own way at work. And then my mum went and got trained up as a teacher when I was about 12. And she finally started working when I was about 15. And then, you know, my dad was still kicking off as a berserker. So we had some money coming in. But, you know, I mean, how can you get used to like things like the loss of a parent if they were never really emotionally there anyway? You know, that's something I'm going to have to deal with in the future, I think, because some people are going to be sad when my parents die. God, I sound like an asshole. But at the same time, were you there when they were raising us? Do you know what kinds of people these people are? The generic response to losing a parent is to be sad, right? I know that. I don't know, my autism makes it a bit harder to understand how it would feel, but at the same time, it's like, assholes. I mean, I didn't feel bad when Bob died because he was just generally an asshole all the time. It's hard to get attached to people that are assholes. You just gotta love them unconditionally. No, you don't. Because if they do that, that's just them sweeping their shit under the rug so they can keep doing it. I do believe in unconditional love, but I also believe in unconditional love from a fucking distance. But then again, at the same time, when I think about what I feel for my parents, it's like I don't feel love for them because of the way they raised me. It was just aggression and violence. So I don't know how I'd feel about loss. I mean, you do, like 2018, I lost 2 grandparents within the span of each other. Bob died in February, my nanny died in May. These were the 2 that were married. Bob was the asshole. Nanny was the very bitter recluse because of him. I don't blame her at this point. Having looked at what Bob was, I'm like, I'm not surprised, because he was a man whore and a creepy old dude. He was just a manipulative, controlling asshole. And of course, she took the brunt of it for how many years that she was married to him. And she just turned out bitter. I don't blame her. But I lost 2 grandparents in the same time, and I didn't feel any kind of sadness or loss. I mean, most people get attached to their family members. I'm having trouble getting attached to mine. I mean, if I lost my siblings, I'd feel something of sadness. But there's such a distance between us. I would feel for my brother. But my sisters, I don't know, because there's such a distance between us. We were just raised as separate entities, basically. It's not really the cohesive family feeling that's the most generic, format of what we're being fed. It's like, oh, we're family, we'll stick together, we got all this shit going on. And it's like, well, no, we weren't raised that way. We were raised to be in a ferocious and aggressive way, independent, and, handle your own shit and keep it to yourself. That's what we were raised as. So when my sister-in-law, which is my brother's wife, gets narky about why are we not hanging out together, it's like, because it's normal for us not to. So why would we? It doesn't make sense. I mean, we still get along. We get together like maybe once a year, maybe every couple of years, and we send each other memes and shit, but we're not that kind of like, we got to see each other every day. I got to call my mom every day. It's like I actively ignore calls from my mom, which does make me sound like an arsehole. But it only makes me sound like an arsehole from the perspective of someone who actually gets along with their parents. I mean, there is a bias there, you've got to admit. If you've got a great family and everybody looks after each other and no one's being a fucking dick to each other, then you're going to feel like someone who ignores people as, you're an asshole, you're avoiding family, you're avoiding looking after your parents. They looked after you. It's like, no, actually my parents didn't look after me. My parents did just enough to get them out of jail. So, I know what it is now. If I had left one of my kids with what my parents were, I would call the cops. It's like, I would, fuck DCP, I'd call the cops. So, dealing with the loss of a parent like that, I don't know if I would have a lot of emotion. And of course you won't know till you get there, will you? Because for years, my parents were hanging on to the idea of Bob dying because, he had the money. They're that fucking shallow, and they hated him. I know they hated him because they frequently told us they fucking hated him. And we're just waiting for Bob to die, or Nanny to die so we can get her house. It's like, my parents are these kinds of people, It's like they're more concerned with getting the wealth than actually dealing with the person. But then again, look at the people who they're wanting to die. It's like they weren't great people either. It's like, to be in the warm environment with friendly people is an alien concept to me at the point where I moved out. So these days when I see kids getting along with their family members, I'm skeptical. I'm like, I don't understand. First of all, I don't understand it. Second of all, I'm like, I don't know if that's real, man. It's like, it doesn't feel real to me. It's like, it feels like you're putting it on. It's like, it's a bit jaded, I think. Just a bit. And all this I've discussed with the psych, so don't worry, I'm not entirely out of my mind. She says it's a trauma, so I'm like, oh, okay. All right, definitely not personality quirks. But yeah, everybody's going to deal with at some point their parents die. At some point. Some people milk it. Some people use it as a means to garner attention through victim mentality. I admit that. I know I'm looking at Prince Harry right now. And in order to garner a response from the public, he is milking the dead mum thing so much. And there's ways of dealing with loss and then spending God knows how many years milking it. I was like, is this even a real feeling anymore? Or are you, is that one bad thing that happened to you and so that's it? I'm going to milk it for the rest of my life. It's like normal people, or not that normal's a thing or a real thing. people in the outside world, shall I say, go through so much fucking trauma in a lifetime. Their mum dying is one thing. There's more. There's a shit ton more. So we get used to dealing with loss and grief and all this kind of thing, and we take it in our stride. We keep going. It's not something that shapes, well, it might shape for a bit, but it's not the only thing we go through. So I get pissy when people keep, dragging up that shit. It's like, yes, she was a beautiful woman. She was a great woman. She helped so many people. She was amazing. She was our mom. It's like, yeah, good for you. You're lucky. My mom beat the shit out of us. Is it going to be a loss? I don't know. It's like, I don't know. We won't know till we get there. But you can't sit on this one bad thing that happened to you when you were like, what, 10? 10? And what is he like, 28, 38 now? You can't sit on that and keep milking it. Other shit happens, dude. Stop. It's taking grief, and I don't know if it is grief anymore. I think it's him just milking it for PR. Because there's grief. Grief does not last an entire lifetime. It doesn't. It's sad, yes, but it stops. You get on with things. And to milk it for what? It's like 20 odd years now. It's like, dude, is this real grief, or is this you just making money off it? Because now he's signed up Diana's name to his podcasts and shit like that. And it's like, dude, no. This is ridiculous now. So eventually, we're all going to suffer loss at some point, but just don't sit on it. Don't let it encompass you. Or maybe I'm just coming across as a bit sterile, considering I've had, shitloads of loss my entire fucking life, and me losing my mum probably wouldn't be the biggest thing. You go through divorce, you lose your entire future and anything you created. You've planned out this life with this person. You've hitched up your entire existence to trying to make this future work, and then you suddenly lose them. And that's lost. But do you let it stew for the rest of your life? No. You find someone new. You make new plans. You get on with your shit. You grieve. Yes, definitely grieve. You deserve to grieve. Everyone deserves that. But does it fuck you up for life? No. Fuck them. That's what they want. I can imagine it. If you've divorced this really, truly horrible person, or had to break up even from this very horrible person, wouldn't they just fucking love it if you wallowed? They'd love it. Fucking often narcs, narcissists would love it. Of course they can't live without me. Of course they're going to get fat and gross and put on weight and be depressed all the time, and their life's going to go down the toilet. Why wouldn't they? I'm not there. They fucking love it. Fuck them. Do better. Get vicious with it. I advocate anger and, aggression when it comes to compensating for that shit, because no one's going to help you. If you're lucky, someone will help you. I will say that. I didn't have the support when I got divorced. I was me on my own. Again, that's how my family dynamics are. It's her business. She got to keep it to herself. It's like, fuck off, dude. I need help. Oh, I can't help you. There was. My brother showed concern. I went straight to my brother when I got divorced because he was my only person. My sisters didn't know about it. My parents didn't give a fuck about it. So it was me with my brother, and even then his passive-aggressive wife was like, when are you leaving the house? I need someone to say, when are you moving out? It's like, are you fucking serious? So, that was an eye-opener. You do tend to learn who your allegiances are, who's actually loyal to you. In times of crisis, you do. So that was an eye-opener. So you're going to get something out of losing stuff as well. You're going to learn who's, worth your time, who to pay back, who to bother keeping around you. I don't know who I would keep around me besides my brother. If my brother ever needs anything, I think I'd drop everything for him because of, experiences like that. But yeah, you can't sit on grief. At the same time, I also lost all my money. I went into debt, 10 grand. People have had worse. I've been watching TV programs and YouTube programs where people have lost a hell of a lot more, and they're just losing their shit, and I don't blame them. It's not an easy thing to be in debt, and then to feel it mounting up as well. So, it's a bit tricky. So I'm just going to try and change lanes. This a-hole is speeding past me. Do you get that in your country? I don't know where you are, listeners. Where you try to change lanes, or you're sitting in the slow lane and you're trying to go around someone and they speed up to stop you changing lanes. And merge points, where they just sort of race at the merge point and just fuck it, right? It's like, I know in England they do zip for zip, you know, like one for one. But in Australia, they tend to just race to a point and hope they make it. So it gives me the shits. Because I drive very British. I'm like, I use my indicator. I merge appropriately. I know how roundabouts work. You know? I follow the fucking textbook. These fuckers, they wing it. It bugs the shit out of me. I don't know what that is. Sorry, but no, they're a bit dickish in this country. They'll speed up to stop you changing lanes. Like, I was just coming out of the fast lane then, sitting on the speed limit. And this asshole in my left lane, who's now in front of me, was doing, must have been 90, while I was doing 80. 80 is the speed limit. I'm going, why? What is the purpose of this? Besides proving to you that you're an asshole. Sorry, bit of a tangent there. Eventually you will lose your money. This fucker is going to lose his car and or life. If karma sets in properly. Is that too dark humor for Friday? I don't know. But, you know, you're going to lose your money. Everything's impermanent. Not everybody gets to keep what they earn. You're going to go through debt. You might think you're ahead for a few days and then lose it on a bill or something like that. I know I've just got a speeding ticket, which I didn't see coming. I thought I was ahead for a bit. I am somewhat living hand to mouth at this point. I've got my projects which I'm technically saving up for. I would love to be one of those people that have like proper savings accounts. But I'm a teacher, dude. We don't have money. We have enough money. We're okay. Just don't fuck around with it. But, you know, you're going to lose it. I lost all my money. I got it back, but I lost all my money. And I've lived in poverty my entire life. So it's not something I'm unfamiliar with. When people start losing their jobs and shits because of recessions and lockdowns and shit like that, this is all normal to me. People losing their fucking minds, like, oh God, we're going to lose the houses. Like, I already lost my house. Oh God, I got no job. It's like, yeah, I've done that. I'm homeless. Yeah, I've done that. Food banks. Yeah, I can show you where the best ones are. You want to go to op shops? Fuck yeah, I do it as a hobby now. It's like, I've been through the loss system. I've lived in loss my entire life. It's not a problem. I'm surprised when shit actually works at this point. I'm going, I did not see that coming. We're going to give you $800 stimulus packages because of the COVID lockdowns. And it's like, awesome, we're getting free shit. Finally, the payback. It's odd. Loss comes around in springs and roundabouts as well. It's not a constant thing as well. You're going to be up, you're going to be down. You might maintain a certain level at some point where it might plateau. But generally, it is an up and down thing. No one ever is perpetually winning. And it's all a learning experience as well. You're going to learn humility, you're going to learn patience, you're going to learn resilience. Particularly, you're going to learn your strengths when you have nothing. When you have nothing, the best thing you can do is to learn appreciation for what you do have. And you're laughing at me now. I know you can tell because you're like, fuck you. Because I'm thinking fuck you when someone says that. I have nothing and I'm in pain. It's like, I'm not feeling any kind of gratitude or appreciation. I feel very shitty right now. It's like, I agree. Let's go with that. But at the same time, try and understand what you had. Aim to try and get it back again. Obviously, you don't want to just give up and lay on the floor and cry. Or maybe you can for a bit, but don't do it permanently, because it doesn't go anywhere if you do. I've had quite a few crisis scenarios and situations where I was laying on the bathroom floor crying because it was the only quiet, enclosed place where people weren't, and it had a lock on both doors. So we've all been there, crying in the shower, sitting on the toilet, losing your shit, thinking, what the fuck am I doing and why am I here and what is this about? It could be a dark night of the soul. Yeah, you could be going through a period of growth, dude. It feels like hell, but it will get you somewhere in the end. Everybody has to realign at some point. You're not immune to change, dude. You are not immune to the unfamiliar. Setting your sails and heading into something that's better for you. It feels like shit, and it does feel like everything's falling apart. But it is realigning. I know that if I'd stayed in my previous situation with my ex-husband and stuff like that, I'd be losing my shit worse. it had to drop so that I could reform into a better format. Yeah, I can't imagine staying in that situation. I mean, he gave me the ultimatum that I would have to have an open marriage. If I had stayed with that, I knew it would have killed me. It would have. I'm not designed for that kind of shit. Some people can have open relationships, I can't. It's soul crushing to me. It's poisonous and painful. I can't imagine tolerating that shit. In fact, it's quite disgusting to me. I don't know how people can do it. But then again, when I'm in love with someone, or if I love someone, it's whole soul. It's everything. I absolutely want to get involved and do everything for them. I don't do things by half. So it was very strange to me after 16 years he would have given me this ultimatum. It's very strange, just like, why? I don't understand, because I was doing everything for him. So when you lose someone like that, it's not really a loss, it's a win. Because he was poisonous. And so was my ex-boyfriend, actually, with the same shit going on in the background that he just couldn't admit to. So it's not really a bad thing. You don't want to keep these shitheads in your life. These are not good for you. It's reassessing what's good for you as well. It takes a traumatic experience, such as loss, to make you reassess some things. And I'm grateful that I had the divorce at this point, because I knew it reset the system and put me on alignment with what I should be doing. And if I'd stayed in that situation, I know I would have been crushed. I would have just died inside. Not that I didn't die inside in the first place, but I was reborn this way. I'm a little bit crazier, a little bit battier, but it's more interesting this way, I think. Anyone who knows what I look like currently and what I dress as and things I do and talk about in day-to-day on my Facebook and shit like that, they know I'm batshit crazy, and I embrace it. I embrace it. I'm like, dude, I've been hiding my shit for years. I'm not gonna do it now. Not when I've got no one to answer to. So I'm just going with it. Get to a certain age where you're just permanently unimpressed by everything. It's like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do at this point. I don't want to fit in. I'm too tired and old and fuck you guys. So screw you guys, I'm going home. It's great aging. And people are worried about aging as well. They see it as a loss of youth. It's like, no, it's a gaining of experience. It's gaining of wisdom. Because you've gone through the shithole experiences, and wisdom is just picking up information that works for you at this point. It's like, the wisdom of not smoking. It's like, yes, I've seen the information and experienced the actual outcome of other people doing it, so I'm just not going to do that. That's the problem with things like celebrity and Hollywood and stuff like that. They idolize this concept of youth, but there is no value really to you. It just means you've got a little bit more time than other people. But then again, we don't know how long we get to live for. It's like, how long is a piece of string? It's like, you don't know when you're going to die. No one does. It jumps on you. Even doctors, when they give you a diagnosis that you're going to die in a week, it's like, it might be a week. It's a very general idea. It might do. But, you know, there's no point latching onto the ideas like that. If everything's impermanence, you just need to practice detachment in some things. Not everything, because it's hard to find and love someone if you're completely detached. That's just emotional unavailability. But be detached from the outcome of what should be. I mean, who are we as humans to say, I'm right? Or I'm right all the time? You know, some people are like, cannot admit that they're wrong. That's just arrogance. That's you are flawed. Everyone is flawed. We've all got problems. We've got issues. No one's perfect. Perfection is a lie, if not an illusion. We're going to get it wrong. It'll be okay. It'll be okay, because we can always try again. Because we can always reform it. We can always take a different approach. So when you come to loss, we might, you know, lose some things. If it's things like wealth and property and anything in the 3D that's not life itself, then you're probably going to be able to get it back again at some point if you try hard enough. Human loss of life, which is the real tragic one, you probably won't get back again unless somebody's figured out the, you know, Lazarus effect. But, you know, zombies, right? We're always holding out for hope. Actually, I'm holding out for a zombie apocalypse because I got some mad skills I want to test out. But anyway, that's going to have to wait, I guess. You know, when malaria really kicks in and mutates into a form where we can actually infect people and they still fucking walk around like zombies. That's the theory. That's where it's coming from, apparently. Malaria strains. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it. But you know what? And yeah, appreciate what you've got when you've got it. Because it can be just taken away in a heartbeat. People talk about losing people. I hope at some point I get to have that kind of relationship with someone where I do actually grieve their loss. I'm not heartless. I do feel sad when I break up with people and stuff like that, but these are generally people I'm breaking up with that are horrible human beings. So it's like, I'm sad. With my ex-boyfriend, all right, I grieved in the relationship. I didn't grieve so much after the relationship. I grieved in it because he was being such a prick. So we were going to pubs and things and everything was fine on the surface, but as soon as he got me home, he was a complete piece of shit. And I was crying the majority of the time while we were at home. And I gradually grieved the loss of him, knowing that the relationship was breaking down. I grieved while I was with him. I knew it was coming. I knew this was unsustainable. I knew he was that kind of a piece of shit. So eventually I just let go. And it was easier to leave him physically because I had already grieved. And I come across as heartless when he comes up to me afterwards saying, oh, I've been assaulted. Or he got assaulted because he's got a big fucking mouth and he's an asshole. And someone finally told him what's what. That's why he got assaulted. He's fucking stupid. But I don't feel sorry for him when that happens. I should. Because if it was any other person, I'd be like, ooh, that's horrible. But because I know him and I dated him and lived with him, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It sounds cruel. I know. It probably is cruel. But having been subject to what kind of a person he is and how unwilling to be empathetic he was to me, you know, while he was causing all this drama and this pain and this bullshit and then fucking off to the pub with his mates while I was left crying on the floor, literally, figuratively, in every way. It's like it wasn't a loss for me to see him go. It was a win because I'm like, great, I get a better apartment out of this. I save money. I don't have to put up with the psychological abuse, the sexual abuse. I don't have to deal with any of that shit. So I do grieve. I just don't grieve on the outside. If he'd have been a beautiful person, right? If he'd have been, I'm not talking about aesthetics, I'm talking about inside and out kind of beautiful, you know? One of these really warm, like my granddad Fred. I still grieve for my granddad Fred. He was an amazing gentleman. He had beautiful manners. I grieve for him. Every now and again I still get that twinge of loss. Like I had, a few months ago I had a dream about him. And he was in the dream and I woke up crying. I'm like, oh my God. And he died when I was like 12. So some things stick, I guess. So I can't really give Harry shit about his mom. But at least I'm not profiteering off it, I guess. But, you know, loss is hard to deal with. Grief is hard to deal with. I guess we need to find ways to get over it a bit more. But you don't sit in it. I recognize his value as an adult, as a mentor, as a, you know, as a safe place when I didn't have safe places. He was a great person. But I know he's gone. But he's not gone far. Okay? Because in my belief system, he's already on the other side poking us from that way. You know, and he's helping, you know, I suppose divine entities sort things out from that side of the fence. Which is good. Because you get more access to better things and better tools, I guess. Some people see death as a finite. I don't. They think, oh, you die and that's it. Atheists do. They think, oh, you go in the ground and that's it. But at the same time, I think, and I believe that we have conscious thought as a result of the divine. We have that ability to think consciously, critically, and things like that because it's the spark of the divine, because it's what's left over to help us deal with the shit that happens in this 3D. So if we've got evidence of it in our conscious thought, why are we negating the divine in the form of atheism? It's like saying we have all this shit and we don't need them, even though they gave us these gifts, which I don't understand. It seems a bit arrogant in itself, really. But that's a whole different podcast. That's me talking about belief systems and atheism. My ex-boyfriend was an atheist. Actually, no, he was Church of Satan, which he claims is atheism. I'm going, would you make your fucking mind up? doesn't it cancel itself out? It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, so how can we deal with loss? What are some positive aspects of dealing with loss? First of all, you need to acknowledge what the situation is, obviously. You need to acknowledge and honor what these people or things did for you, gave to you. Oh, look, a guy on a lawnmower. I had a ride on. You need to understand what impact they had in your life. You've got to honor them. I mean, we used to keep our dead people with us. The Celts, particularly my cultural heritage, the Celts used to bury them in the sidewall of their homes and just build on another wing. So they never fucked off. Grandma's still with us. Oh my God, I can smell it. It's buttery. And yes, if you're wondering, dead bodies have a buttery smell when they liquefy. That's how we found Bob. But, you know, it's just, oh, he's collecting bottles and cans. Oh, you good man. Okay. All right. That's the thing. It's like you never really deal with the loss of a situation, I guess. You just need to handle the situation to hand, understand what you're going to, you know, get from it. What understanding do you get from it? Is this kind of thing that you want to pass on? Is it something, if it's wealth, is it something you want to maintain or try again to get? Maybe you took shit for granted. Maybe you need to acknowledge your part in the situation. If you took it for granted, then maybe you need to not take it for granted. You know, there's a whole wealth of things a wealth of skills and understandings you can gain from just losing something as simple as, you know, your money. And for me, money is simple. It's you lose it, you gain it. I've never had it really, so when people latch onto this idea that they have to be a billionaire or a millionaire, it's not really a thing for me. It's a tool for making life slightly better. It's not the be-all, end-all. Losing a loved one, and actually a loved one, not just someone who's attached to you DNA-wise, is more important to me. Losing someone who you genuinely loved as a partner is more important to me than losing money. Money you can get back again. Destroying, having your marriage destroyed or having your future destroyed because this person was a non-committal piece of shit has more impact than, you know, going into debt for me. Because I got myself out of debt. What I'm having trouble now finding is someone who's worth the effort to build another connection with, which is more tricky. People are tricky. Money I can do. Tricky people is hard. You know, that's the real tragedy of loss, is not being able to get it the right way. You can still grieve. I think everyone should grieve. I don't think you should internalize that shit. Don't internalize it. Let it go. Let it out. The more you internalize shit, it's just going to build up and make it more fucked up in the long term, because you're not being able to handle the situations that come. Because it does compact. It doesn't go anywhere. Oh, go away. Noisy. It's just going to compact on the situation. And it's, you know, makes the situation worse. And then you'll just crack on someone who actually is worth something to you. So I don't think you should internalize. Although at the same time, don't externalize like my dad did and become a berserker. So I don't know. You're going to have to find decent ways of doing it to deal with your loss. I'm going to have to leave it there, guys, because I've got 4 minutes to get to class. I'm hoping you guys have a fantastic Friday. I know it's a bit of a morbid topic. And I know I do dribble on about shit today. I'm hoping you have a fantastic Friday, okay? If you are suffering from loss, or maybe you're not suffering. I didn't suffer when I got divorced, so it was a rebirth for me. I'm hoping you see it in a more positive light, because there are swings and roundabouts to this reality. You can't just sit in one phase and say, that's it. Everything goes up and around and down and spiraling, ever twirling. If you ever watched The Simpsons. I think you're going to be fine. You're just going to get up and you're going to keep going, because it changes. Everything changes. And change is good. I'm going to do a podcast, if I haven't already, on change. Okay, take it easy. And I'll see you, hopefully, on Monday. We've got 2 more work weeks left for me. And I'm going to have to figure out what I'm going to do after that. But have a great Friday, okay? Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday.